Boom. And we are live with another episode of the Brown Water Banter podcast. My name is Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
It is Joey Cates. And in the studio, man, we got a great episode lined up for you. We have our buddy Brad from Modern Recoil CPR and Safety. We're going to be talking about AEDs, first aid kits, the whole nine, man, how to stay safe. And returning guest from episode 5-ish, early, single digits.
One of the godfathers.
That's right. Our brother from another mother, high school bro, Sid Russian in the house. We're going to be talking bourbon and safety. So it's going to be a great one. Y'all sit back and enjoy. But before we do that, we got to thank the people that keep the lights on for us over here at the Brown Water Studio. Without them, we'd just be sitting over here in the dark talking to ourselves.
With no AC.
Right out the gate. We got Dr. Robbie Williams over at Southern Magnolia Smiles, man. You can look them up on Facebook and Instagram at Southern Magnolia Smiles. They are located in Ocean Springs right over there on Washington Avenue. 2024 is the year to smile more. So when you're ready to book that appointment, just give them a shout at 228-215-1202 and tell them that Brown Water sent you. If you drive down Washington Avenue, you've probably seen this beautiful face right here before too. This is Tyler over at Taylor and Cox Law Firm, man. He's got the big billboard out there. He's
if you catch a charge.
He's trying to be like Morris Barton. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
it. I hope he buys every billboard there is.
They specialize in felonies, misdemeanors, DUI, family law, divorce, child custody, you name it. If you find yourself in need for legal representation, for pretty much any reason, man, give them a shout at 228-696-0111 and tell them that Brown Water sent you. We were just talking about this before we went live, man. If you're trying to get back out there on the water fishing, you need tackle, you need apparel, Rocky Brooks over at Sea to Swamp has got you covered, and they are local. You can look them up on Facebook, Sea, the number 2, and then Swamp. He's got 2 locations on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, one in Goshen and one in Gulfport. They're slinging kayaks. They've got brown water gear. They've got rods. They've got reels. Rocky knows all the secret fishing spots, too. So if you want to go,
he's been telling everybody.
He's gonna tell you right where the fish are. So we're glad to have him on board as a sponsor of the show. Give him a shout at 228-205-3964. And we've also got Kendrick over at Forever Young Men and Women's Health. I keep saying it. You have absolutely missed your New Year's resolution time frame. It's the middle of the year, but it is summertime. So if you want to take that shirt off and feel comfortable and confident, give Forever Young Men and Women's Health a call. They can get you back in the gym, get you back to being healthy and feeling good. They specialize in hormone replacement, specifically testosterone replacement for both men and women. Yes, I said that right. Men and women. So take you and your significant other, have some blood work done, put your healthcare in the hands of a professional, and book that consultation with them. You just give them a shout at 228-363-6623. And I've got a pattern here. You just tell them that Brown Water sent you. And bringing up the rear here, Dewey Do Bugs over in D'Iberville.
Super easy.
They are specializing in boiled seafood. If you haven't had their food yet, I highly recommend doing so. Go check them out on Facebook as well. Dewey Do Bugs, right across the street from the Scarlet Pearl in D'Iberville. They got a killer building. They've got great food. They got the Maverick, man. Everybody raves about it. We've had it multiple times. It is delicious. You get crawfish, snow crab, Dungeness crab, shrimp. It's really legit.
All kinds.
I think I said crawfish. Yeah. It's legit though, man. You won't be disappointed. So go check them out. We appreciate all of our sponsors. And then Joey, this is normally where you jump in and say,
we have an app sponsor, and today he's sitting right across from us.
So, we do appreciate you sponsoring the Brown Water Banter app. For those of you that don't know, it's free on the App Store and Google Play. You can stay connected to all of our stuff and link straight to your Facebook.
Absolutely.
I think your website, actually.
We
couldn't get the Facebook link to work for some reason on yours. No clue why. But it goes straight to the to your website. And so what better transition than to kick right off into the show? And if you could, man, just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what Modern Recoil CPR and Safety is.
So I am, my name is Brad Rayborn. I am a lifelong resident of the Mississippi Gulf Coast.
Yeah, baby.
I've been a fireman for over 10 years now, but with Modern Recoil, it's something I do on the side, just like every fireman. Got to do something on the side. But it
all that time off.
Exactly. So my emphasis originally was the first aid CPR training for the community. It's my way to give back.
Okay.
And
BLS, ACLS, the whole nine. PALS.
So, no PALS yet.
No PALS. Good for you.
But So ACLS and BLS, and of course I've got American Heart Association. I've got American Red Cross, HSI, ECSI. Everybody wants their money some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was more than
there's
the Red Cross.
Ton.
Yeah.
But that, and then of course, so now with the safety portion starting to go into being able to provide first aid kits, whether it be something I've already made and I've already curated, and I took what I have or what I have in my truck and what I would want my family to have on the boat.
Right.
Or I can do personalized or customized to whatever someone may want.
If we've kind of had a theme going over here of the past couple episodes, I guess we did the DMR with boating safety. Then we had the gentlemen or the guys that sank in the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
And now we got you. If we were smart and we knew what we were doing, we'd have branded this as like the summer safety series or something.
Summer.
We're not that smart. We screwed it up. So, but no, to kind of continue along with that, you see it as a fireman, right? Like I mentioned before, we went live. Sydney and I work in healthcare, so we know the importance of it. Sydney's got a cool story we'll share in a little bit about it as well. But like, was it because of what you see as a fireman? Did you see a need in the community? There wasn't people certifying people.
So
what was it?
What happened to me is I've got, right before we came on, like I've got a 3-year-old boy.
Right.
And before he's all my wife and I have Ashley, a little boy named Graham.
Yeah.
So I realized, like I've always enjoyed training, the CPR first aid training at school.
Mm-hmm.
But the day I dropped him off, everything changed. That's when I was like, hold up.
Who's taking care of my kid?
What do you know?
Right.
Who's trained you? And so it went, I know the daycare didn't like it because instantly I went into, what is your first aid kit? Where's your AED? Do you know? Is it good?
Who is this dude?
Yeah. What is your training? And then it was like,
if they didn't know those answers, they should have been happy that you were asking.
Exactly. So they did. And so what happened, the way it worked out for me is they said, well, this is the guy that trains us. Mr. John Gallardo is who trains them. And so I reached out to him. I was like, hey, what's your story? Like, what are you teaching them? How, just trying to be sure, like, this isn't just a pencil whip class. I mean, we know it. We know it exists.
Right.
Oh yeah. You can take a CPR class and just put your name on the paper and send it in.
Yeah. And so I talked with him, and he's like, and I went through kind of my background and history. He's like, look, I would love to, if you want to help teach the class, you can. We've got them coming up, but also for me, I was able to trying to go in towards making it a business out of it.
Right.
And so with him, he's helped me a lot. He's my training center basically, but with him, he allowed me the opportunity to start making it more of a business, but also working under him. And it all stemmed from my little boy. Like that's,
that makes total sense.
Yeah. Well, you said you're a fireman. You work in where?
So I work at NAS New Orleans, Naval Air Station New Orleans. I've been a fireman for over 10 years now. I started at Gaucher down the road. Right. So I'm born and raised here.
Homegrown,
Gaucher. That is, I thought that was going to be like my entire life. It's Gaucher Fire Department. I met this lovely lady out of Gulfport, and we got married.
She changed the plan.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
What they do. Yep. So they do.
We compromised and said,
now you're driving in the
moving
You gave in. You gave in. She was over there.
Oh, so it's like, so she moved to Gaucher at first and lived with me for a while, and it was funny because like with me growing up, all Gulfport had was Academy and Sam's and shootings, and now, now it's like. I'm very proud to live there because I understand how good it is and it can be, but she definitely, for them, they called it Gaucher. It's like, no, that's not what we are. Like we're not. So it's very interesting for them to learn what we have available over there or over here now, and living over there. But she, I say we compromised and moved to Gulfport.
Okay.
So I started.
If you'd have just hung on a little longer, you'd have been there for the amphitheater and the whole thing.
Yeah.
So he would have been married either.
True.
Yeah.
She'd have left.
So like the chief. So Chief Latch, the guy that's the chief now at Gaucher, is a good buddy of mine. I worked with him, and so I'm actually still part of for the amphitheater, trying to provide as far as like me personally, not my business, but doing the EMS standby. So like a few of the concerts coming up, I'm going to be one of the guys out there throwing ice packs for people.
Nice.
But so I started at Gaucher, and I know her dad is retired Air Force, and he said, "Hey, you might want to start contract working." Because he contract works. He's like, hey, well, you might, I know her very well. You might want to contract work because working at Gaucher Fire Department may not cut it. And so for that, I started putting in, I found a job or a contract down in Antarctica.
Whoa.
Yeah. So literally the total opposite.
You went down there?
Yeah.
Is all the pyramids and all the UFO stuff real down there?
I'm not a massive believer in all that.
But you were there. You would have seen it.
However.
Oh, here we go. Oh, yeah. We're about to kick it off. Let's go.
They've got something called Ob Hill.
Okay.
That's what it's called.
Okay.
I went out on a tour to a crash site or plane crash, and I turned around and I looked at Ob Hill and was like, oh shit, that's a pyramid.
Really?
It was nuts. It looked just like, I was like, that looks like a pyramid. That's not a hill. It was nuts. But other than that, like I didn't see anything. And I've seen
a pyramid,
other than just a random pyramid.
Yeah.
Aliens.
Yeah. But I will say it's wild because I've seen some interviews, this guy down at South Pole Station saying they've got aliens and stuff. He's like, I had a key to the entire station, and he claimed to be a fireman. It's like, no, dude, you're not, because down there, like everybody's on the fire brigade, and then there are fire department, there are firefighter personnel.
Yeah, what is the housing situation? I mean, how many buildings and houses are we talking about down there?
So they're like trailers. They look like a work site, right?
It looks, it's like a college campus.
Right.
It's super cool. So like, what's nuts is I went down there in the middle of July, so midwinter. So I left Gaucher in July.
Yeah.
We all know what it's like down here.
Yeah.
And I got there.
Scorching.
Satan's taint.
It's opposite down there.
Yeah.
So I had to wait in New Zealand for about a week for it to warm up to 40 below, because that's the temperature of what the Air Force.
They fly,
they won't land until it's 40 below or warmer.
It's too frozen.
It was nuts. So total opposite. But it really is. It's a college campus. They use like lava rock basically to make the roads, because of course there's a volcano right there, Mount Erebus. But yeah, it was an awesome experience.
So that was a contract job for you?
Yeah. So I was down there from July to January. I got down to like 95 below at one point. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Pretty cold, but it was.
I mean, how do you work in that? Like,
you don't
stay indoors.
Yeah.
Dude, it was the best. It was one of the best fire department gigs ever, because I hate doing the truck washing. But down there, they're so environmentally aware.
You can't do anything.
No, hey, we don't wash trucks here. If
You're
you
like,
do,
yes.
Yeah, if you do, you got to take it to a warehouse where they bring it in and they wash it, and you don't.
Okay.
So I mean, it was pretty. I mean, that was cool. But of course, it was really neat getting to meet people from all over the country.
Right.
That are just all over. We had military guys, we had the volunteers, and we had city guys, and just seeing the different types of personalities and experiences that everybody brings. It was an awesome opportunity. And I think it peaked for me is when I got to go on a helicopter ride. Mm-hmm. And in the helo ride, got to kind of go around the volcano, but also got to see like the orcas down there.
Yeah.
And it was kind of surreal. It's like one of those, like, I'm at the bottom of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me. Some people are flat, so I don't know where it is. If it's
was it flat or round?
It was definitely round.
Okay.
Like, I definitely.
You might. Well, you know what it was though. You were at the ice wall.
Exactly.
The flat earthers would have called that the ice wall, and you didn't go over it.
Yeah.
And you didn't, so you don't really know.
So you heard it here. The Earth is round.
It's flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty wild, man. What did the sun do? Do you remember? I remember when we went to Montana one time. It was so weird that the sun never completely, at least when we were there, didn't cross the sky like it does here, like, east to west all the way.
Down there, I got there in July. It was total darkness. I've never worked at an airport fire-wise up until that point. So not only did I land, everything's white.
Yeah.
It's pitch black. And like the airfield is nothing but flags. They're like, hey, yeah, we can drive here, but that's a hole if you drive in it. They look the same, but it's just on the other side of a flag line, because the runway is ice, and a C-17 lands.
Wow.
It is awesome. It's so cool, like realizing like A, what the world can hold. Like it's like, dude, we're just laying on ice. And B, like kind of one of those like, hey, America can land on ice. It's like we got this down pat. But it was so, I was so confused when we landed.
Was it night the whole time while you were there?
So it was night for about a month or so.
Yeah.
And I realized how bad it was. The first time I saw the sun, I pulled over because I was driving from like the New Zealand base. There's a New Zealand base, Scott base is a mile and a half down. I was driving back and I saw the sun and I stopped and took a picture of it. And
forgot what it looked like.
It occurred to me like, dude, you just took a picture of the sun.
Yeah.
And then come summertime. So summer starts in October. So it kind of does the weird thing. But November, December, and even in January, like the sun just kind of hangs out in the middle. It's just moving around, which is odd, especially when you come out. Like if you're with your buddies, and there are bars down there. And
nice.
Oh man, I didn't, but there are a lot of people that go down there and leave either with no money because they spend it all at the bar, or they go down there sober and leave with a drinking problem because that's all there is to do.
Yeah. Do you remember where the prices inflated because it was
cheap?
Oh.
Now, a Coors Light was probably a year old and flat, but like the freshest beer was the beer from New Zealand.
They probably got good beer.
Yeah.
I've never really heard anything bad about New Zealand.
New Zealand is one of the most beautiful places.
That's what everybody's like,
gorgeous.
if you go, you won't want to come back.
Yeah. So the only reason I wanted to leave is so my wife and I, we got married in November, and then I left in July. So we celebrated our 1 year anniversary of me at the bottom of the world.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like 850 miles from the South Pole. But I did spend some time in New Zealand on the way up. But like it is wild when you leave the bar at midnight or whatever with your buddies. It's like, hey, we've got our 1 day off and it's fully light out.
Yeah.
And you're like, did I just miss the shift?
The whole day.
Yeah.
Let's keep drinking, bro.
Yeah. It's like, you don't know what just happened. It's like, you have to keep an eye on it's like, is this AM or PM right now?
My dad used to work in Alaska a lot, and they dealt with the same thing. And he would tell me it'd be weird, all sun or all dark, or sometimes it's like dusky. Is about to get dark, dusky, and then it goes right back to daylight again.
So
I've never experienced.
So that's the thing. So I was in Antarctica. On the way home, basically, with how they work down there is they say, hey, either you can give us a date that you want to be home by, or you fly out New Zealand by, or you just tell us, hey, I want 10 days in before I fly home, whenever you do get home. No flight is ever on time. It's always some kind of delay.
Right.
But like, I want to say I told them, like, I want 5 days, and I kind of planned it out. The coolest thing I got to do on my Antarctica trip was go swimming with great whites in New Zealand.
I don't think I would have done that.
So
that doesn't sound
that was like the moment I realized
that they can eat you.
Well, and also it says safety in your business.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
So, I was in a cage.
Makes more sense.
I was in a cage.
There we go.
Dude, that was a wild trip, but New Zealand, it was gorgeous because I took a bus from the southern tip up to like central New Zealand or Christchurch to fly back home. It's like, I felt guilty taking the trip. But it's like, how often do you get to swim?
How often are you going to be there?
Yeah, and I always thought it was going to be so like intimidating. But it's like where they film Shark Week at portions of it. But I'm sitting in the cage, and the first great white swam by, and it's like majestic. It was beautiful, and it was a really surreal moment of like, that's a school bus, just
and you're on his
that
turf.
Wants to eat you.
Yeah, it's like
you're the visitor.
Yeah, I'm just chilling.
You're not the apex
So
predator.
it was really cool, but and going back, and we rode up the coastline of New Zealand. It was gorgeous, but and like you had mentioned, Alaska. So I went from Antarctica to Gulfport, and then I started working at it's called CRTC, but it's old Trent Lott Training Center.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I worked there at the fire department. They connect to the Gulfport Biloxi Airport.
Yeah.
So it's a military installation that's also connected on to the airbase or the airfield,
right?
Which is so cool because finally it's a real airport. It's not just flags and just everything's white. But getting to see how it all happens, and then like for there, I didn't know this, but when the president or any kind of vice president they don't go to Keesler, they go there. Because there's a separate ramp for military, and so like
at the Trent Lott
at CRTC. So it's the old Trent Lott Training Center, but it's the National Guard base in Gulfport.
Yeah, in Gulfport. Okay, I think when Bush came down, like post Katrina, he landed in Stennis. If I remember right.
So I worked.
But Gulfport might have been destroyed or something. Damaged.
So I know Trump when he was doing all of his campaigning, he came through there, but. I got to listen to Air Force 2 air traffic as they came in with Pence. He was coming in. It was just a cool experience getting to hear Air Force 2 talking to a tower and talking about landing.
Yeah. We're coming in now. Clear it out.
It's like and we had to be out there as the
fire,
crash site. Fire guys. So we were out there and like he drove by in the truck, the tank, whatever they call it. Like that was pretty neat, and they stored it at the firehouse.
The beast.
Yeah, the beast. They stored it like a few days before. It is nuts on base. Like the FBI or whoever is just
Secret Service.
Secret Service. They're just checking everything.
Yeah. One of the coolest things that I saw was, again, post Katrina, when Bush Jr. came and visited the coast. I didn't know he was coming that day, and I was on Highway 90, and I'm like, why are all these cops here?
Well,
Highway 90 is a straight run, but they at every intersection where you could come on or off of 90, they had a Biloxi Police Department. All of those were blocked off. Then all of a sudden the motorcade comes through, and you're talking like 10 Tahoes with the backs opened up, vehicles with radar jamming. You could tell
the real limo.
Might have been the beast, might have been the bee. Who knows? Like they all look alike. Yeah. And then I look over and I'm just standing there, and I look over in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's a Coast Guard cutter flanking. So nobody's coming that way. There's helicopters. It was wild. It was wild.
It's really cool seeing, like, of course it's like, okay, that's my guy. I'm glad we're watching out for him, but it is neat seeing the prep and knowing like a week before they were at the base just checking anything and everything going through.
I bet.
But we had at least one of the vehicles, one of the beasts, like at the firehouse, and they're like, don't look at it.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it. Don't touch it.
Yeah. Look at it. Yeah. They have multiple.
Yeah. They've all, you never know.
And they
which
do like
one
65, 70 miles an hour when they're going.
It's just a battering ram.
So you can't.
Don't get in trouble. Yeah. Don't get in front of it.
But I guess to bring it back around to the Modern Recoil stuff, I mentioned it a little bit ago. Sid had a story, and we'll explain what an AED is. Let's start there.
Right.
So people that they're non-medical, don't know, what is that?
So the AED is an automated external defibrillator. So what that is essentially what's going to send the shock through a heart. That is the paddles you see on Grey's Anatomy where they make
clear,
them jump. Yeah. And so it's a lot more efficient.
Unfortunately, on the movies, they always make a critical mistake. I guess I get why they do it for drama and suspense, but they always shock no rhythm and asystole, flatline.
Yeah.
There's nothing to shock there. You do not shock that.
Once I got into the fire department, and then once I got into the medical side, especially, it's like I can't watch Chicago.
No, it's terrible.
Yeah, you can't watch Chicago Fire. And even when I teach classes, I'm telling people, all right, so you seen Grey's Anatomy? They do CPR. It's like, it's like, that's wrong. That's not what we're doing.
Right.
But so the AED, at least, that's what's going to send that shock from the across into the heart, and so it's going to help them.
And it's automated. It's an automated device. It's in the name, right?
It walks you through it.
Yeah, it's pretty.
So and there's fully automated and semi-automated.
Okay.
So there are some that say clear.
Yeah. And
we're about to shock. It shocks for you. Then the semi-automated, basically, it's just someone has to push that button.
That's someone in the hospital.
I prefer the semi-automated, but that's
so nobody gets hurt.
Yeah. But it's also, as a layperson, like I would understand.
Correct.
The hesitancy. It's like, hey, when it says go away, just get away. Like, don't touch them.
It's sending bolts.
Yeah,
but don't touch it.
Oh yeah. I used to make fun of the videos, like, and I know y'all seen them. The old AHA videos are like, stand clear. It's like, why are we that goofy? And then the first time I saw someone get shot,
it's intense.
I was like, I'm standing clear now.
I want nothing to do with that.
It's like,
No, or somebody get cardioverted who's semi-awake.
Oh yeah.
They say it feels like getting kicked by a mule.
Yeah.
They'll be sitting there like, boo.
They make a sound.
Yeah, it's very noticeable. It's very noticeable. But to kind of drive the point home, unless you had something right there.
Well, I was going to ask you, brought up the flat line.
Yeah.
When is it appropriate to use an AED?
So anytime you feel necessary. So if we're going to start going through your CPR, and you're going to, so we're looking for our, do they have a pulse? Do they have breathing? Anything like that? If they don't have it, if they don't have a pulse, they don't have breathing, we need to get the AED. And so that when you take a CPR class or first aid classes, the first thing you learn is the scene safe.
Mm-hmm.
And then, hey, we don't have a pulse. So we're going to start CPR, but it's, hey, you, or hey, go get the first aid kit and the AED, call 911.
Right.
But so if you get to that point, once we get the AED there, we got to start using it.
Right.
But the AED is essentially, so CPR, the way I try to teach people is you are doing CPR until the AED gets there. Everybody knows DeMar Hamlin, the football player.
Yeah.
Now that happened, it's like the CPR, that was a very, very public time or public way to see CPR in action. It's like, yes, they are moving the blood and moving the air. They're not doing anything wild, but it's the AED is what's going to reset that.
and then
Yeah.
keep the heart going.
Yeah, your heart's gonna go. It's gonna reset that rhythm. It's like taking the battery out of your old Nokia,
Right.
putting back in.
Yeah.
And that's what the AED kind of does for you, is it just resets everything. And then your heart's like, okay, oh wait, we're good to go.
Right.
Assuming you have a pulse, though.
Exactly.
You could not have one.
Yeah, so that's when
it's not going to work. The beauty about those things are, though, is they can take somebody who is an absolute novice, no experience whatsoever, and at least give them a chance of doing something productive for the person. But going back to what you mentioned about asking your the daycare when you dropped your kid off, if you just know how to do a basic CPR, just BLS, basic life-saving chest compressions. Even now, you probably know better than I do. Less on the emphasis on the breathing part and more on
they have
compressions.
they teach like hands-only CPR.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because it's totally changed.
That will get somebody through enough time to get AMR or whatever there.
Yeah.
You
don't
really
even have to do the breathing, the mouth, any of that stuff anymore. You just
there's
keep it
benefits for it.
Right.
However, like, dude, and y'all know this, people are disgusting.
Yes.
Oh, they're gross.
Like people, I didn't realize that until I started going into random homes, and now it's like, oh, okay, but
also too is getting that breath correct and not blowing it out the side of their mouth, and you think you did it but you didn't. Airway alignment, like there's a lot of
wasting time.
It's complex. Exactly.
It's
just
like
circulate what they got and then let the
just
professional
keep
pump and go.
Staying alive.
Yes, 100% staying alive, or Northern Bites the Dust. But if you do, don't sing that one out loud.
It's kind of bad.
Don't sing that one out.
Don't sing that one out.
Yeah, I'm sitting there doing CPR. Oh, well, you had a shot, but not anymore. Yeah,
exactly.
If you're not breaking ribs, you're not doing it right.
Yeah. And then I guess that's the thing with the one we're taught is for sports. Even infants is different, kids is different, adults are different, but you got to get in there. This is not a delicate process.
It's not.
It's not.
Yeah.
So we mentioned it. Sid was at church a couple Sundays ago, just to like let people know, like, this ain't just made up. Like, this stuff happens, and
real life.
Having one of these things around really works. Tell that story real quick, and I'm gonna grab some ice.
So in church, the priest is finishing up the homily, and I kind of saw it. We were sitting where we were sitting. They were kind of in front of us, and I saw a couple family members going to look at an elderly gentleman.
Right.
And I can tell something's happening. Something's wrong with him, and all of a sudden, one of the family members started kind of like pressing on his chest, and I looked at Paula and gave her like one of the and then the priest asked, is there any medical professionals?
You had to rip the shirt off and go in there.
Well, and I say this, I didn't hesitate because we're a small community, and I mean, working as many hospitals as I work in, I know most of the doctors around the coast.
Yeah,
there weren't any in the congregation that Sunday,
right?
So I did. I hopped up. I was one of the first people, other than his immediate family, that responded to him.
Yeah.
And I working in the ICU as long as I did and doing what I do, I could tell almost immediately, okay, this guy's in trouble.
Thank good.
Yeah. He gave one or two what looked like agonal breaths. He was already sweaty. I felt for a carotid, didn't have one. I gave him a pretty brisk sternal rub, nothing. Sir, are you with me? Are you with me? And then immediately I looked at the person to my left and I said, call 911 and help me get him off the bench. And so we got him off the bench and onto the floor in the aisle.
Yeah. And that's usually that's the first step when y'all teach. Call 911.
Yeah, for sure.
Call 911.
Yeah, call 911. If somebody's there.
Yeah. And then I said, and we had one of our coworkers in the congregation, and I kind of looked up and I said, his name's Clint. I said, Clint,
get over here.
He's laughing. He's like, Sid just called me straight out.
Yeah. Showtime, baby. Showtime.
I needed hands, baby.
Yeah.
And I said, Clint, I need help. I said, someone grab the AED. It's right back there.
Did you know that there was one there, or you just assumed, or you already knew? Why did you know that?
Because I passed it every Sunday.
Did they have a sign or marking it, or?
Well, no, it was a box. It's in a box that says AED.
Yeah.
And the only reason I probably knew it was there is because having that medical background.
Yeah, just haven't seen it.
Noticed.
So from the school, like when I go into the gym or when I go into a baseball field or something like that, they literally have AED signs.
Yes.
Like, here it is at the cabinet. Here it is right here. Break it, grab it, know what you got to do.
Right. So, look, my wife made this comment. The only reason I'll bring it up I guess I've taken so many of those CPR classes. She was like, you pretty much rattled like down the steps. Like you assess the patient. Once you realize, it's
what we do every day because we're constantly knocking
she
people
was
out.
like second nature. She was like, you told her to call 911. You called for the AED. You called Clint, and fortunately by this point, another nurse practitioner was in the congregation, and we got him down on the floor. I was like, I don't have a pulse, and by this point she was beside me, and she immediately started compressions.
Right.
When the AED approached, I felt one last time for a pulse. I said, I don't have a pulse. Let's get the AED on and let's see what's going on. Put the AED on, and so this. As a novice, I've never used, or even as a healthcare professional, I've never used an AED before.
Right.
Oh wow.
Ours are
crash cards.
Crash cards. Yeah.
So we do put the paddles on, and I at least can see a rhythm. But I've never
there's no screen on it.
There's no screen on it.
I don't even know that.
You put the pads on it, and we got the pads, and it was on, and it's telling us no shock indicated. Well, I'm feeling no pulse. I'm like, thinking, crap.
That's worst case. That was the worst.
That's worst case. So I said, let's
continue compression.
Let's go.
Yep.
Yeah.
She starts again, and I was at the head, and so I gave him 2 rescue breaths. And so that's another thing. I've never given mouth to mouth to an actual person.
Yeah.
I've always had an ambu bag.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That
Or a
works.
mannequin.
Yeah. Or a mannequin.
Yeah.
And I was like, gosh, this is going to be gross.
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
So, and I'm like, if this dude throws up, I don't know if I'm going to be able to.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be out. They're going to have to resuscitate you.
Well,
Bob died.
Yeah. What did he die from?
being
Stop
in
breathing 'cause he got
anesthesia,
puke
fortunately, we give chin lifts and jaw
Chin
thrusts
thrust.
pretty often. I mean, I
Jaw
opened his
thrust, yeah.
airway, kind of used my fingers, pinched his nose, almost had a little bit. Most of my mouth touched my fingers, I think.
Right. But then what was your seal like? You know what I
Dude,
mean?
his chest rose.
Did
twice.
it really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Was there
I was very impressed, huh?
Was there not a mask with their AED kit?
See, I'm like,
They hit it from Sid.
I guess they hit it from me.
Well,
because
Sid's
I was
full of
like-
hot air. That's why you got that chest.
Well, they're like,
around.
let's see if he'll do it without the
Right.
air.
So
Yeah.
any AED I sell,
That's
they've
the
got a
thing.
mask.
Well,
so
this
Clint-
one,
Clint
I
hit it.
actually checked
Clint
him out.
hit it. That's right.
Hit it.
Yeah, he probably did.
He probably did. No,
He didn't. It didn't have one.
Well, in that situation,
My wife. I get back up there. She goes, "Did any of y'all give mouth to mouth?" I was like, "Yeah, that was me." And she was like, "Well, I've got one of these like little pocket
No.
seal things."
Oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh.
I needed that about 10 minutes ago.
yeah.
You saw me go over there.
I'm like, yeah.
You had that.
Well, I mean, I jumped up pretty quick. I mean, it wasn't like
Right. Well, she knew where you were at.
Right. She
Yeah.
could have went.
Damn.
Well,
She left
so
you
she
hanging on
ended
that
up.
one.
She ended up gathering Clint's children. He was like, "Yeah, man, I was hesitant because I was just me and I only had my kids."
Yeah,
That's cool.
I'm
yeah.
like, all right.
You did a great job, Paula.
But one thing I did want to emphasize, we got him back with just compressions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
A lot of
And
times that'll happen.
I gave a total of 4 rescue breaths, but it was mainly just the compressions.
Mhm.
When he came back, I mean, it was like he reanimated. I mean, I could tell from his eyes that he came back, and he like took a breath, and then the AED started ticking. I guess that's what it does. It
Yeah,
goes.
it reads
It's like
heartbeat.
it's like a
yeah.
instead of like even in like especially in the operating room or like our code machines, it's a more of a beep.
Yeah.
Well, when his heart came back, it started ticking, and I immediately was like, "All right, let me assess a pulse." And I assessed the pulse, and he like, and he like, I said, "Are you with me, sir?" He said, "Yeah, I'm sorry." I said, "No, you don't have to be sorry." I said,
Yeah, I'm just glad you're back.
with me."
Yeah, I'm glad you're back. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna kiss you again.
Yeah.
And he,
What did the light look like? What did the light
I
look
mean,
like? Yeah.
Meeting Jesus in his house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? He was close, and
Yeah.
so there's no doubt in my mind that guy had arrested.
For a minute.
And and again, that's why I can sit here and like chest compressions are the most important part. I've been in more codes than I can count that we had ACLS drugs and they didn't make it, right? So when I assess this guy, the whole in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I really like this guy may die in front of all these people because we don't have an IV. I don't have any ACLS drugs, completely out of my normal element to where I feel like I can actually intervene for somebody.
It's like a carpenter with no tools. You can't build anything. Yeah.
But nobody left the congregation. All the kids are still in there. Everybody's watching.
there.
Yeah.
Everybody's there. But again, you talk about a carpenter with no tools. The most important tool is the CPR.
Yeah.
The CPR that nurse practitioner was given, dude, it was legit. I mean, I won't, again, you know, I was there and helped her compressions. She was the main one giving compressions, and it helped revive that dude.
She nailed it.
She nailed it for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't emphasize it enough. And we had him back. You know, it's right there on the beach in Long Beach. So EMS was there within probably 5 to 10 minutes.
Well, and
super quick response.
That is a super quick response, but 5 to 10 minutes with no circulation, no pulse is enough to.
Yeah.
Well,
I
don't want to. I don't want to be in that boat. You might could make it out. You might.
I don't want that to happen to me.
I don't want that to happen to me. But if you're doing chest compressions that are effective, and you're doing the right way, which again is not as hard as you think. It's not as hard as giving a good breath. That 5 minutes becomes almost no minutes because you're still circulating, not the greatest oxygenated blood, but it's still moving and it's doing better than nothing. And then the EMS gets there, they take over. So kudos to you. Way to go. Yeah. To transition into what do you have here that you could show us on the table that kind of fits into what we're talking about here for equipment?
So for me, like I mentioned earlier, so I remember when I got real big into tourniquets, I bought tourniquets and I put them at my, like in all of our vehicles. And they are not cheap. And
really?
They're like, well, $30-$35 a pop.
For a good one.
Yeah, for a real one.
That's the band.
That's for a real.
It's got the like metal, right?
Well, they're plastic now, but for a real like a cat tourniquet, that's what you're looking about, $30-$35. And when you're buying 3-4 of them, it's like, hey, we just spent $120 on some stuff I hope we never use. It's one of those things. It's like, man, it's kind of a hard sell, especially with my wife. It's like, hey, why do we have all this equipment? But like, why? But basically what happened is the restaurant we ate at a Chinese restaurant in Gulfport, Miss Susie's on Courthouse. What happened?
Is it good?
Oh, it's amazing.
Okay. I'm about to put that on the list.
Yeah, Miss Susie's.
Shout out to Miss Susie.
Yeah. Well, the McDonald's, the McDonald's right there. It's just outside of Gulfport High. Somebody got shot at that McDonald's.
Yeah.
And they didn't make it in Miss Susie's parking lot. And so when that came out, it's kind of like, oh, okay. I think for her, it was one of those like, because I told her, I was like, hey, a tourniquet, like he bled out.
Yeah.
Like that could have helped.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think that kind of helped change her mindset. That's when it was like, hey, walk me through real quick. Like, I think I can use it, but just walk me through on how to properly use it. Because it's one of those things that a lot of people think the old T-shirt and stick method, like,
better than nothing.
It's better than nothing. It will work. However, it's not, I mean, especially like with marine or with a boat, it's like
you're talking seconds.
Yeah, it's like let's get a real one. You will lose it if it's a shirt and whatnot. Basically, so with me, I'm over prepared as far as medical stuff. So
now is this is a kit that you sell?
Yeah, this is a kit that I sell to. I've got several people, especially down in Biloxi Harbor or the Point Cadet Marines, that have these. And
on their boats.
Yeah, on their boats, they've got them. I've got these, and I've got those that are available at Mary Walker Marina, but also at Furlands Marine.
Yeah.
And
Joey and them.
Joey and Kel, they've really helped as far as putting it out, because it's one of those things. It's like no one wants to spend the money on it until something happens.
No.
And then
it's weird because I'm a charter boat captain. You are required to have one of these on your boat. I'm taking other people, but if I'm taking my own kids, which I care more about, we don't have to have one.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
That's legal. That's
Right.
insurance. I mean, that makes sense.
Most people don't have one.
The confusing part is like why it. And I guess goes back to the episode that we had with the Golden Child, the people that sank in the Gulf. all of us are experienced on the water. We're experienced handling a boat. We're the worst ones because you think, I've seen it. I know what to do, or that's not going to happen like that. And then it does. And then you're like, shit, a $800, $500 EPIRB or whatever, personal flotation, whatever the hell
tourniquet or whatever
this thing it is like a carpenter without their tools. You can't do anything, or it's harder to do the thing if you don't have this.
Yeah. So I had somebody reach out, Captain Brian Dell. He saw it and he was like, "Hey man, I want to go ahead." He's like, "I've been wanting to get an AD, but I want to get an AD and that trauma kit." And I've told people before, like, I know first aid CPR is not the sexiest thing ever to learn to spend money on because it's just there's no real return. You don't get something tangible, right? Or like with these, like they are expensive, but it's good equipment. But with him,
and it looks cool.
Oh yeah, 100%.
You participate in saving somebody's life. That's a pretty damn cool.
So that's what I told him when he bought a full like top of the line kit, and I was like, "Look, I understand it's expensive." He said, "Yeah, but in the big scheme of things, this isn't." And also, I told him, I was like, "This was what will put you on the news,
right? When
someone falls out on your boat, but you save them. That's when WLX is going to be down there interviewing you." And advertising. But in these, I've got I don't want to cut you out, man, but I've got, right there. I've got two. This is my big one. And I've kind of got them separated out for realistically what you'll need quickly. And then what is,
I like those bags.
So like the Coast Guard, I started looking into Coast Guard, like mandates and stuff. They require the weirdest stuff, like 12 1-inch safety pins to meet their standards. And so I've got 12 1-inch safety pins. They've got triangle bandages that are required. And so it's like, I don't use triangle bandages. All like 10 years fire service, I've used them like twice. Right. But so the biggest thing, of course, is tourniquet. And also I will say this, and y'all might appreciate this. Glucose.
100%.
People don't think about it, especially for charter captains. It's one of those things like if you've got somebody out there
diabetic,
you don't ask them that.
You don't ask them that. They're out fishing, they're sweating, drinking.
Correct.
There's no telling. And then all of a sudden
fall out.
They start acting funny. You can't make them a peanut butter sandwich exactly right there. But hey, I've got this. So actually I had a captain the other day that was like, that saved me 3 weeks ago. He was like, I was on another boat and they happened to have this. He's like, I took it. And this is nuts. Seeing someone go into a diabetic emergency, and then get glucose. It's like, dude, you look dead when I walked into your house. Yeah, it's like now you're just like normal. But so I tell people glucose, and the biggest thing is a tourniquet.
Tourniquet, yeah.
This right here, man. I've had people tell me it's a hard sell. Because like even the Orion like $20 plastic kits, they're hard to sell just because it's safety. People don't want to. I'm good.
Right.
And it's like I saw a Orion kit the other day, and it's like it was $20. I'm just like, my cost alone on this is more than that entire kit, and so it's like, yeah, it's expensive. I understand that,
right?
But like you said, like in the big scheme of things,
what's the price of your life?
Yeah,
exactly. And that's the thing.
Your kid's life or your wife's life.
So that's like before I was mentioning, like with AEDs and trying to get them with the ball fields, trying to get them at other places to learn CPR. People, the idea of having every coach trained is awesome. And then like, I don't want to spend the money, or what about the time? But then if that's your kid, you are willing to give anything and everything
100%
at that moment for that. And that happened recently up in like the New Jersey, I think. A mom had a kid got hit in the chest with a baseball, had commotio cordis. But she was a nurse. So she knew, she was like, that's what he needs. She had an understanding, went out, did CPR, AD arrived, and they saved him. The little boy survived. And that was because of the training. It's one of those things, again, where that was a feel-good story as opposed to probably 95% of all the other places in America. That's a bad story. That is.
If she wasn't a nurse, that kid died.
Yeah. If she didn't know and there wasn't an AED, that's a whole another type of story.
That feeling of helplessness too. Like if you're standing there and you don't know what to do, is a terrible feeling to watch a kid or an adult die in front of you. And like I said, even just basic chest compressions.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, people are afraid to do it. They don't know when, they don't know why, how, whatever. It's, you know, I'm like you. I wish everybody had some base. They used to teach it in high school, like it's mandatory.
Yeah.
So at least you've been around it. You might have been 20 years ago, but you kind of know, you know, enough to be like, shit, I don't know what else to do. Let me do this.
Yeah. And one thing I teach about in class when I do CPR classes is like, be that first person to move to go towards it.
Don't be afraid.
There's plenty. Yeah. So like I teach, or one thing I like I harp on is competence and confidence. I want you to be confident that you can act, but also want you to be competent in what you're doing. I don't want us to do chest compressions down in the belly.
Correct.
Like I want you to know what we're doing and feel comfortable doing it. But also it's like, like when that first person moves, everybody else is going to start moving. Like, okay, I didn't want to. Yeah,
it was shocking. So I have two 7 and a 9-year-old, and we tend to sit in the towards the back. This happened towards the front. I was the first person that arrived. When I arrived, I am, and assess the situation. By that point, now you start having a couple of people creep over, but again, the assertiveness and the confidence of like, I know what's happening. And then, has anybody called 911? No, call 911. It was like, there was no like confusion. It was like, okay, well this guy appears to know what he's doing.
They got lucky that you
they had a
correct.
They had a real hero.
You're the odd. You're the
anomaly.
The anomaly. Yeah.
Well, I think in this day of age,
not the rule. There we go.
Right. In this day of age, it's kind of like, we're not going to do anything until somebody tells us to.
Yes.
There's leaders and there's followers.
That was exactly how this situation.
Even legally, it's like, well, if I touch this guy and he dies,
yeah.
Am I responsible for it? You know what I'm saying?
It didn't even cross my mind.
Correct, because you're trained that way.
Yeah. I've had 2 instances of that. One was more recent, and I say recent, it's probably been a few years ago. Somebody, same thing in church. Somebody fell out. I didn't have to do chest compressions because I walked over there. Dave was like, "Now, any healthcare professionals in here? Anybody can help?" I walk over there, did like you did, lay him in the pew. I didn't put him on the floor, but before anything could be done, eyes were back open, kind of moving around. Everything was fine. But I was like you, I knew what to do. I wasn't super scared. But I remember when I was in nursing school, somebody fell out at the Beau Rivage and they were like, "Hey, you're in nursing school, go help." And I remember running up there. I was like 1 weekend. Right. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to assess. And everybody's looking, and you're as a human, that's not a piece of shit. You want to help, but you don't, so I know that feeling of not knowing exactly what to do.
Look, just a funny side note. I know she's a nurse practitioner because Paula, my wife, knew her. Yeah. But we, I had assistants. We laid them on the floor, and she had kind of saw me jaw thrust them at first, and she goes, the person, the other healthcare provider, she's like, I was at his head anyway, but she kind of like looked at me and she goes, "Are you comfortable with the airway?" I go, "Anesthesia." She goes, "Cool, I'm NP. I got compressions." It was like, there was that little like,
so y'all click.
We like,
there
was that
role.
Correct.
Yeah,
it was like that little, and she was like,
we
were like, okay, we know where we stand. Cool.
Yeah. I had somebody get in a wreck right in front of me, and the person had to have been on drugs. There's no other explanation. They just drove straight off the road into I don't even know if they hit anything. Anyway, we pulled them out of the vehicle. They're laying on the ground, like shaking. You could tell they were on something. And I'm sitting there holding the airway, just like you were doing. I could tell they were breathing, so there was no need for chest compressions or anything like that, but they were clamping down. Then they went out. Then I am holding the airway. Long story short, by the time AMR shows up, I didn't give it up. And like the cop showed up, I'm like trying to explain to him, like, I'm not just some random Joe. Like, I do know what I'm doing. I'm not just, not trying to leave. I was like, I'm waiting till the people who know. Yeah, I'm not giving it to the fire guy. I'm not giving it to the police guy. Yeah. I'm giving it to the medic or the paramedic.
Yeah, paramedic.
Yeah. And I waited there.
So that was there was a recent Facebook post on our national forum about EMS kind of like almost being disrespectful, thinking, to somebody that was at a scene. And I mean,
you just need to announce yourself. That's what I did. As soon as they walked up.
To the credit of the guys that responded in Long Beach, I mean, they came up. I was still kind of at the head. I stayed with him until EMS responded, and I mean, he immediately was like, who was here, what happened, and they kind of directed it towards me,
right? And
he was like, it was arrest. I was like, witnessed arrest, compressions given, blah blah blah, definitely asystole, and I mean, they were.
They're totally, like, thanks for a good report.
They were totally respectful and like again, it was like they
just made their job way easier.
They treated me like a healthcare professional, like receiving report.
Correct.
Like this was a handoff that I gave, and they were like, I said, witnessed arrest, asystole noted, compressions and rescue breaths given, responded, no shocks needed. Came back with
all that information is super important.
But what if it's me?
Yeah, you're like, I don't know, man.
Died, bro.
He was laying there, and he wasn't. And then like people, they start going on tangents. And I was sitting in the pew. It's like, ma'am, I don't need to know about all that. I need to know about the patient only. Thank you for helping.
Right. But I don't know. I appreciated it. And when I saw that post, I was just kind of like, man, that wasn't my experience at all. Like when they were talking about how like, I mean, they just acted like blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, they probably deal with, what are you talking about? You lost me there. There was a post on our national page, anesthesia page, about a similar situation must have happened where CRNA intervened and EMS got there and then like blew them off and like was quick to push them out of the way and like didn't want to give them the time of day.
There's so many details.
And I'm just kind of, it's correct. And of course, the description that they was vague. I
don't buy into all that.
Yeah, I don't mean correct.
Without being there. But
it's also,
I was like, my personal experience, I was like, man, that wasn't
you had the opposite.
That wasn't mine at all. I was like, they treated me with respect. They were appreciative. They were like, damn, good job. Good job. Like,
you're doing my job.
And I get it.
Yeah.
There ain't a lot of times. I don't know.
The dude got lucky. The guy got lucky that you were there.
He was. But again, I've been in situations where we had way more tools, all our ACLS stuff.
Well, sometimes it don't
work. Which is like, when I mean to that, to the non-medical people talking, I mean, you're talking epinephrine and all these life-saving medicines that I can give with an IV in addition to
airway devices and all
that kind of stuff.
Ambu bags. But those people are a lot sicker too.
Well, they
typically. Right.
So, well, your average person doesn't arrest just sitting in church.
Yeah.
Also true. And
like, also, I will kind of piggyback on that. I do think there are definitely, because I ran into it, there's different mindsets. For me, like the abandonment, or like you had mentioned, like the negligence and abandonment, for us as EMS, I feel like it's hammered. But I was doing a local, it was a pistol shooting competition, USPSA. I was shooting, and another guy fell down and like blew his knee. Like his leg was looking left, but his knee was looking right. And it's one of those things. It's like he was fine, but as far as like he wasn't grave, he wasn't dying, but still he was right there. It's like And so they hollered, "Hey, any medics, whatever, or anybody with medical." So I went over and I'm looking at it, and this other lady shows up, and she was like, we're talking, and she was an anesthesiologist, and she was able to say she could whip out some anatomical terms, like a champ. Like I'm a fireman. Like I know it's his patella. Just say it's his right knee. Like, we don't have to be.
Give me the cliff notes.
Yeah. And so like, and I was there.
Speak to your audience.
Exactly. It's like I was
takeaway there.
So I was there and I was helping, and then she's like, "Oh, well, it's my turn to shoot," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And it's like, "I'm not leaving." She's like, "No, he's okay. The ambulance is on the way." I was like, "Yeah, but like I'm not leaving."
Right.
And it's one of those things, just because it's like you work in a very controlled environment. Y'all do. It's a very controlled environment. It's like I'm in a different. I cut my
teeth.
Streets. Yeah, I'm on the street.
I'm on the streets.
I cut my teeth in a different type of. It's like
dirt. You got.
I'm
people,
not about
you got
to.
Everything. Yeah.
Before I know it, he gets an artery cut off, and that type of stuff. And so
it happened if you got
it. Like y'all are shooting.
And so I told her, I was like, I'm not leaving until someone of equal or greater train shows up.
Yeah.
And she was like, whatever, I'm shooting. I was like, if I miss my shot, it's okay. Like if I don't get to shoot my round, whatever, like I ain't winning this thing at all. So
who cares?
It's like I'm just here to have fun anyway. It's like, but I'm not leaving this dude. And it's just, again, I kind of goes like with your post, it's just different mindsets too, that people approach a patient or that you never know the mindset, as well as regionally. Like I've learned, like going back to the contracting days, regionally, there's so different types of what's expected or what's accepted in different areas. I know at one point, like AMR had the AMR South Mississippi had like one of the highest rates of survivability of cardiac arrest or something like that. It was nuts. Them and like Seattle, they do some pretty like forward thinking stuff up there.
What about let's go back. Go ahead.
Well, that goes back to training, correct?
Yeah, 100%, 100% the training, and that's a lot of people are like, "Oh, I've had the training before." Okay, cool. When? Well, about 10 years ago. Okay, cool. What was it? It was, I'm on the same I'm on CPR instructor pages on Facebook, and they're like, they told me they did training on a pillow a couple years ago. It's like, nah, that's not how we're doing it.
Potato sack.
Yeah, it's
there's no rib cage and abdomen.
We've got feedback devices on this. You understand what we've got going on.
I know the longer that you're in healthcare, it's every 2 years.
Yep.
So it's every 2 years, and I've always felt like it was a huge pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this: when I actually had to use it in a non-hospital situation,
it worked.
Those years of training, again, my wife commented on. She was like, she was like, "That's
you nailed it.
That's in
Poster
the order
child.
of like."
Well, we should have had video of it.
You tell me. You like? I mean, there's an algorithm.
There's an algorithm.
It's
an
like
algorithm.
you do this
It's a
in
flow
this
chart.
order, and I'm not running up there like thinking, "Hey, do this in this order." I'm just it was like second nature.
Yeah.
And that's because I've done it every 2 years for 20 years.
Perfect practice.
I mean, you know.
What else is in the the thing there?
Real quick. So I've got a medicine bag in these.
Keep going.
I've got a SAM splint. A lot of people, they think we'll be all right with, but when I pull out these SAM splints, they're like, oh shit, like that's super effective. Better than, again, wrapping a pillow in a PVC pipe or whatever.
And that's if somebody
So
falls
this
on
is
a,
if
on a
we have
deck
a
of a
broken,
boat,
we have a
boat,
broken ankle, broken wrist, broken arm. Basically, it is a malleable piece of,
Right.
It's got metal in there, but it's a malleable piece of foam.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing that I didn't think about until it was Chris Ward. I've known Mr. Chris my entire life of CETO.
Yeah.
I've known him like my entire life. And I was talking to him about it, trying to get feedback. And his what he said, I showed him an emesis bag. For us, we see these all the time.
I don't know what that is.
Exactly.
Throw up bag.
Exactly. And he was like, dude, you could sell those like in itself. And because I only had them in here. And of course, because my mindset originally was like the Gulf. Like if you're out on a boat, if you need to vomit, you can vomit wherever you need.
All over Joey's boat.
Yeah, all over
right
the
on
boat.
Joey's boat.
But then
We'll wash it out and use it for chum.
well, then it was like, you know what? There's somebody with that yacht. That's their wife down in that cuddy cabin. Or there's someone down there that's like, I don't want to throw up.
Or I just thought of this, like, because what you said about the yacht. Or not having to lean over a boat, I can just now sit where I'm at.
I can sit. So that's what he's mentioned. It's like, and people, for those of you that don't know, that's all it is. It's and in the medical field, we can tell how much you've lost, how much fluid you've lost. But it's like you don't want to throw up in the salad bowl because that's a lot of times, especially like at a house. I mean, this is our salad bowl. This is what we use for everything. Oh, this is also the kids' vomit bowl.
Yeah.
So it's like, when he saw that and I showed him what it was, he's like, dude, you got to mark it just like you can go sling them things left and right.
I've got it in every vehicle I own.
Dude, yeah. Man,
well, just for car sickness. My youngest gets car sickness all the time. And I'm like, if you throw up my car, I'm throwing you out the window.
My kids have
usually she
sick
throws it up
times.
That's why I got
my kids have thrown up in multiple of those.
I got the little mats where you control it all.
I have never, just recently, and I mean last week at Disney, I have never projectile vomited. Something got me down there.
The credit card bill probably.
That's what
But I eventually, I had to go to the hospital, and I went, it was it was bad.
Dang.
I got some kind of bug, but I ended up, I went to an urgent care at 10 o'clock at night. I was like,
oh, that's fun on vacation.
I was like, I need fluids.
Yeah.
That's all I need. It's like large bore IV. Come on, let's hook me up.
Sell me a bag of saline.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, we can't do that. You got to at urgent care. You got to go to the ER.
Oh, that's only $400 when you walk in the door.
So walk in there. And then, my wife, when we left the ER, was like, hey, these are going in the car for a second.
I'm surprised it felt like you didn't have a couple saline bags.
So,
all right, that's right.
This goes back to had we been at home,
we'd have
been set.
You don't have an on the road medical bug out bag?
I used to carry.
You look like the guy that
used to always have a saline bag with. I used to be set.
Right.
And now it's like, no,
mine's empty.
I'm trying to.
I used to have one. Mine's empty.
One of the guys that I worked with in Hattiesburg, he carried a almost like what you got there, but it was anesthesia specific. He had ET
That's
tubes.
what I'm talking about.
He had a blade. He had an ambu bag. All of our if you had to just have the basics that we need,
Yeah.
he had it in his truck. And I'm like, that's a good idea.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
I've never done
It's
It is a good idea, but if you were in a
Not
situation-
often, but
If
I
you
want to
had
say he used it one time. I want to say maybe
You'd
somebody
have
got
to.
stung by a bee or something. Seriously, seriously. And
Yeah.
I wish I knew that story.
Hey,
though.
You'd have to-
preparation.
you'd have-
Preparation is
you'd
the
have to-
name of the game.
I feel like you'd have to save somebody though. If you're,
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
it's
the
a
liability of
liability.
like using that. Our scope is inside a hospital, typically.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't really think about it from a legal standpoint often.
I mean, I guess if you save somebody's life
think
and
that
then
I
you're not
need-
an
if I'm
ambulance
sticking
chase
if I'm
you.
sticking a blade in a tube in somebody's airway,
I'm trying to save.
I'm trying to
They're
save
dead.
your life. It ain't
Yeah.
because I was just having fun.
Correct.
So
I agree.
until
But-
there's a paramedic that I've heard. There's a paramedic like in Florida, I think. What happened is this medic ran a wreck, a pregnant mother
mm-hmm.
or an expectant mother, and was in a bad wreck. She wasn't going to make it. On scene,
Did a
C-section.
C-section?
On scene,
Whoa.
saved the
Moly.
baby.
Mom's still alive.
No, mom didn't make it.
Dad suing because mom died.
He or she, the medic, lost their license.
Well, yeah, he's
Practicing outside your scope.
correct. I see that.
Saved the baby. However,
Here's where I'm at with that.
However,
So when was that? Where's that?
Don't
You said?
count
I
on me
want
to
to say it
do
was
that.
Florida.
Okay, the governor needs to step in, or whoever that
It's
was.
nuts.
If that's all true, assuming all things you said
Exactly.
are true, and there were no
Exactly.
extenuating circumstances that we aren't aware of. If you saved that baby's life,
That's
and that
insane.
mom,
I know.
now maybe they
That's
couldn't
insanely-
tell if mom was dead or the
What if you-
C-section
what if
killed
you-
mom.
What if you don't save the baby's life, though? Think about that.
That's even worse.
Correct.
And that's what you got to think about before you jump.
Think about if you go to do it. So before you intervene, that baby had a 0% chance.
Yeah, that's true.
You intervened, you at least gave a chance.
That's insanely impressive. I've seen a bunch of C-sections. Could I do one on the side of the road?
Oh, absolutely.
No.
I mean, could I do one
That's
when they're
nuts.
draped in like?
No,
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 absolutely not.
not even close.
Like,
I mean,
Stop
so,
swerving.
and that's what I'm
Stay in
saying.
your
Like,
lane.
Correct.
was mom gonna die, or was it the roadside
blood,
C-section
yeah, I know.
that went through 10 arteries?
There's no. But
Well,
yeah, that's
I can
wild.
promise you one thing.
That's a tough one.
I'm not going to do that.
No.
Because the first sight of blood, you're going to need one of those right there.
Are you
I'm
passing
down.
out? You
Oh,
pass
I'm
out
done.
of the blood.
Done.
Needles too, or just blood?
Done. All of it.
Okay.
Those don't make any sense. Don't make any sense.
Well, I mean, it does make sense. I got some words I could describe, but I'm not
Well,
going to
go
say them
ahead.
all. What else is in it? Did we get it all out? Did we
Yeah,
get it all
so I've got a mask. You could have used one of these.
out? Is that what you
Yeah.
asked him to?
Yeah,
this
this
is
is,
exactly what I
Yeah, he
asked.
he wants to buy one of those from you.
I
Yeah,
do.
this is what we were looking for.
That's it.
CPR
That
mask.
is 100%.
And with
My wife has this. It's a little. It's
It's
just
like a
a
piece of
face.
paper.
It's a face
Yeah.
barrier.
Yeah,
And
so
I'm like, well,
They don't.
the face barriers, they talk about them in class. So when I teach, I can use the
Oh,
face barriers,
I
or I can
wanted
use
that.
these. I tell people because, of course, I could sell them.
I was gonna say, do you sell that individually right there?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
I
What's-
sent you.
yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
can-
right. Okay, yeah.
So the
It's like
thing is,
$10.99 or something.
yeah. So the face barriers, it's like
That
when
would
people throw up. That's not what I want protecting me. Is essentially that thin barrier.
it's like a piece of paper, literally.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I want that.
Correct.
And so even
exactly.
it costs me more as the educator to utilize those masks. However, I don't, unless they ask for it, I don't train with those masks. I'm teaching them that. Like we'll go over how to properly hold and all that, but nah, like let's not get throw up. in
Right.
us.
Yeah. Well, you run a risk for
Oh, all kind of.
Oh,
any kind of
hepatitis.
disease.
Hepatitis. Yeah.
I mean,
There's no doubt. And when you're in the situation, I mean,
Could you
I'm like,
imagine just
I'll
sitting
be
there? And
damned.
Well, could you imagine sitting there and be like, "Oh, I don't want to catch anything," and then watch somebody die?
Yeah.
correct. And now,
Or,
granted, I don't.
or City saves a guy's life and all of a sudden he catches something.
So that's the thing.
I know, but like,
yeah.
Like,
See what I'm
okay,
saying?
if you had the ability to go back in time, would you not do it?
Correct.
Uh,
He's got an oath. Y'all
well,
have an oath to do
I don't
it.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
You
here.
would? You would
if I
say- so, like-
if I test for positive for Hep C, I guess. I mean, I'm still
Well,
not
you
going
can
to
cure
regret
that now.
That's true.
That's the thing, man.
You know.
So like for
I'm
me,
just,
Don't think- but see,
you're
that's
saying
the
the same
whole-
thing I'm saying, right? You're saying that even if it were like that happened and I was like magic timeout, and I'm like, Sid, you're gonna go do mouth to mouth right here because this patient's about to die, but they have Hep C or HIV. It's up to you now. Time back in. What would you do? You're still gonna save them.
I gave mouth to mouth.
Yeah, I
did
mean,
it.
you're not gonna.
And again, even as seconds are
No, you know
even
what
as
I die?
even as
Right there
seconds
in
are
front of you?
clicking,
kudos to you.
I
Yeah.
thought about all that.
Damn.
All that was it was clicking. And that's what I say. I don't know if that's like something I should openly admit, because what kind of person does that make me?
No,
But I was like,
that's the
thought
first thing
about
I
it?
would have thought.
I was like, I don't.
No, you thought about it. It's fine. You didn't. You didn't stop.
I didn't hesitate.
Yeah.
I took. I like.
But if you'd had the right equipment, you would have been protected.
Correct.
I think about a lot of things, Sid. I think about on the interstate, I wish I had rocket launchers that I could shoot people in the fast lane that aren't passing people in traffic, but I don't do it.
Well, let me ask you this.
So thinking about it doesn't make it bad.
And again, it's like, again, this is the first time I'm prepared to like give mouth to mouth to a real human being, right?
Yeah.
And I like kind of take my hand, I lift his jaw to get open his airway. And I'm like, pinch his nose, and I'm like,
here we
how
go.
The hell am I gonna
dive in, baby?
And so I just pinched as much skin as I could with all my hands, because I'm trying to get a seal.
Mm-hmm.
And then most of my lips touched skin.
You don't got to get.
I did touch him. I did touch him, of course.
You don't got to get too descriptive.
The whole I'm just like,
it's a tough situation. It really is a tough situation.
He did what he was supposed to do.
Correct. Right.
He did what he was supposed to do. Did we make it all the way through the box? Is that your big box?
Yeah, this is the big box. I want to go back to that though.
Yeah, you would have stopped.
So when y'all treat patients at work, what's a typical environment?
Oh, controlled setting.
Absolutely.
Optimization is our biggest thing. Oh yeah, you're on the streets. I mean, I get it.
But it's like, so like, I get it. No, not even in New Orleans, man. Because like I work on a military base. So, but like even when I was in Gaucher, you see how people live.
Yeah.
That's nuts. And I'll tell people in class flat out, like, and it might make me the bad guy, but I'm gonna have to really love you for me to put my mouth like. And that's just, but it's also, I'm prepared. So it's like one of those things.
But again, going back to what we said a while back ago, and this is even American Heart Association standards. You tell me if I'm wrong. It's circulation compression.
Yeah, they don't even teach
airway.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I'm not saying don't ever give breaths, but I'm saying that let's just, if you're in that situation, if you focus on the compression part of things, 100. This is not medical advice by any way, shape, or form either, by the way. So do what you got to do.
Good disclaimer.
Don't sue us. But do the compressions, right?
Yeah, 100% compressions, 100%.
But in my mind, I even thought, I'm like, before I did it, I was like, I knew he was asystole. Yeah. So one, I've established that, and I'm thinking this is now 2 provider CPR because she's giving compressions, and so. I didn't even hold her up. I take that back. She did pause.
Yeah, you're supposed to pause.
For the breaths.
Yeah.
Because what I did made his chest rise. And in my mind, I'm like, hell yeah. It actually worked.
Yeah.
Like it worked.
Yeah.
Like I did it. Usually I'm giving it with an ambu bag. Yeah. And I mean, I could give a breath
with an advanced airway at that, I'm sure.
Well, no, even masking somebody, I mean, I can mask somebody with an ambu bag and their chest rise. And we're fortunate we know what that looks like because we do it every day.
It's a harder skill than you think to do.
100%.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I wouldn't know how somebody who doesn't do it every day, whether it's EMS within an or just anybody.
I remember getting into school and doing it, like especially when you get out in clinicals and stuff, and saying, "Oh wow, how many of these did we do wrong in an ICU setting, or did somebody like a therapist or something do?" Not adequately ventilate and not know it.
Right.
And not know it.
Right.
So,
well, it is possible to give lay breaths with their chest rise.
No doubt. No doubt.
And
no doubt.
It was,
what else?
All right. So big bags. Little ice pack.
Yeah. Ice pack.
Tell us about, heat exhaustion is 100% a real thing.
Yeah. And I will say also, I've gotten here a space blanket just to counteract the ice blanket or the ice pack.
A little hypothermia stuff going on.
People don't realize
it happened.
You can go into hypothermic shock on I-10 in August, just sitting there, lose enough blood.
Right.
You're going to go into hypothermic shock.
Right. So the guys that we had that sank actually was telling us about that. They were getting cold because the water was
water stuck in their
what is it, 85? They were 85 degree water, wasn't it?
I thought they said 70.
Well, no, it couldn't have been. It was only like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, they said it was warmer.
It was like 85 degrees, but your body's got to stay at what?
98.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're looking at it on the I guess NOAA, whatever, you're like, man, it's kind of hot out there. The water's warm, but it's like, no, you get cold.
Not if you spend 8 hours. 8 hours.
You spend enough time in there, like you get cold. But yeah, so I've got that. I've got This is essentially a massive ACE wrap with a bandage on it. So you don't have to, because in these bags, I do have
like your Band-Aid.
I've got wraps, all kind of, man, you name it. I've got it in here basically. Another big thing is gloves. This is a pair of gloves.
Okay. Wow. That's compact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't think about that, or you don't appreciate it
until, like you said,
so y'all can certainly appreciate there's like, that's a pair of gloves, like extra larges at that.
Yep.
So I've went through, like I said, and
now you built this out yourself.
Yeah. Okay. This is all me. I've,
so the experience, the knowledge, the know-how, the whys, and the what's important and what ain't is all packed into there. If you're a novice guy, you don't have to worry about, did I miss something? You
exactly
got it.
And then
one-stop shop.
Yeah, exactly. And so one thing that, of course, it costs a little more, but I utilize. I'm with a partnership with North American Rescue. If you're in a first responder or anything, like, you certainly know them, but they are basically like the creme de la creme of response. So that's who makes the cat tourniquets. NAR, North American Rescue. And so I use them. This isn't the stuff that is just, I'm not.
You didn't go to dollar store.
I ain't using dollar store. I'm not using Temu to order a bunch of stuff and just throw it in there and mark it up. Which unfortunately, like, you get the little Orion kit. That's mostly what it is. And so, like, especially these cat tourniquets, man, you can get online and find them, but they're not as good enough quality. The windlass will break. In fact, there was a brand out of China that made some tourniquets that were so similar to NAR that there was a lawsuit that they put a cease and desist. They got taken off of Amazon. The other brand did. Like, it was a big push on being sure we're using.
It was probably the factory that made that brand started making. That's what I hear happens. These manufacturers in China are making the product anyway, so then they just start making it on the side and they sell it on Temu because Temu doesn't follow the same rules as Amazon, and then that's why you're getting all these undercut prices.
I thought NAR was American made though.
Yeah, I think they are.
Maybe. I don't know.
But they are, and they're. I know they're an American company, and they are they are it when it comes to And so I utilize their stuff, and so kind of rolling back into like my background and whatnot. So I am playing a big part, and so there's an active shooter pandemic or active attacker
100%
going on in the nation. So with right now, the fire service as a whole, we're changing the mindset. Previously, we show up, well, you let us know when the guy's down, and then we'll start treating. Well, we know at 30 seconds of arterial bleed, you can't put this on yourself. Basically, at 60 seconds, you're on the 60 seconds you're on the ground. 3 minutes DRT. So we need to get in there quickly. So
can you real quick say that again? So 30 seconds, 60. If I get hit with something, I got arterial bleed. 60 seconds, I'm on the ground. So
you have, it's about 30 seconds of the ability to use your fine motor skills.
Okay.
And then
this is good information.
Yeah. So at about 60 seconds.
You're not standing.
You're on the ground, and at about 3 minutes, again, this is dependent on.
I get it.
Yeah. But 3 minutes, you're up. Your DRT is the best way to put it. So, what I've taken a big liking and appreciation for that. So, what we're doing is the fire service as a whole, we're changing the mindset to where we're making entry into what is called the warm zone. So with the active attacker, it's hot, warm, cold, just like a hazmat scene, hot, warm, cold. Hot is where it's real bad. Warm, we can be there, but we need some protection, but not as bad. Cold, hey, that's everywhere else.
You know what that sounds like? Almost like military style, right?
It essentially is. So right now there's a big change. And so I've been to several active attacker trainings where we're putting these tourniquets on and we're training with them to where by the end of training, I've got big bruises on the inside of my arm. You got to hammer down on them. And so with that training, like I've had people tell me like, hey, I want a kit, but I don't want that tourniquet. And I've always asked, like, hey, explain to me why. And then just, if you don't want it, I can work on something. So far, I haven't had a single person say that they didn't want it and then follow through with not getting it. Once you explain, like, if you're out at horn and a prop gets you.
Yeah.
It happened to somebody that I know. Like if you're out at horn, prop gets you. Yeah, you can use a belt. Yeah, you can utilize something else.
But it's not designed for that.
It's going to get loose.
Correct.
Yeah.
This has got Velcro or hook and loop as it is. It's not. This isn't going to be as. We're not going to lose our constriction with this as we would a t-shirt and a stick.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. It's like it doesn't hurt to have.
100%. I used to teach a shop class at D'Iberville High School, and I would get D'Iberville Fire Department to come in, and every time we'd have them, but they were the blue ones.
The blue trainers.
Yeah. So you would wrap them high and tight, high to survive.
Yeah.
And by the time the kids got done with class, I mean, their whole arms were just bruised
It's a
up.
bruise. Yeah.
But that's what it takes to live.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it hurts, man. I don't. So I think.
I was a grown man, and there's a girl in my class, and I'm cranking on it, and she's like, and I'm like, that's what it feels like. Yeah.
Knee. So one of the things that we've learned in class is like, hey, if we're trying to get to someone and they've got the bleed in their leg, just drop on a knee in that femoral artery. And so in class we've trained on that. That shit hurts.
Oh yeah.
Like to have someone put all their pressure on that femoral hurts so bad. But and again, do you want pain now, or you won't feel any pain if I just let you be?
You got two options.
Did you, when you were in ICU, did you ever pull femoral casts?
Yes.
Yeah. After people go to the cath lab, like to look for coronary blockages and stuff, they come back with a catheter in that's 18. I don't remember.
It's big.
It's big. It's way big, and it was our job to pull it. That was the most scary. One of the most scarier things that I would do early in my career, because you're literally pulling it out of the femoral artery, the one everybody's worried about getting shot in or hit or whatever. It's right there, and you pull it out, and it's like, they're like, watch one, do one, teach one. It's like, can I watch about 10?
Let me watch.
They're like, no, get in there and do it. And you pull it, and I mean, freaking out. And the patient's wide awake. They're looking right at you, and you're like digging in with your hands.
River. As soon as you pull out,
if you're not doing it right, or it can be bleeding in like inside
internally.
They can go retrograde. Yeah. And it's like you don't know it, and it's like I hated that until I got to where I was comfortable with it, and then it was fine because I knew the technique. But like training, you'd smash your fingers to where when you were done after 30 minutes, you couldn't straighten your hand. You could not straighten your hand anymore. So anyway, I could only imagine if you add in an active shooter, chaos and all that into the thing. That's a bad situation.
We have them. We do craze training every year. I'm sure you're familiar with craze.
Awesome. I'm a craze instructor.
I'm a teacher.
Sweet.
Yeah. So we have the boxes that are mounted on the wall to where we rip it open. It has a kit in it.
Can you explain what that is? I don't know what that is.
Craze training is a active shooter.
Okay.
Civilian response to active shooter.
So we're taught by the administration, lockdown, boom. We go into the classroom, we block the windows. You can't see anything in there. We put the kids in the corner of the room. Nobody says a word. Nobody leaves. Nobody does anything until we get the all clear. Just had it happen right before school came out. We're sitting in a new classroom. I said, look, the cops are going to come in here and they're going to be wired up. I'm talking about AR-15C face.
Whoa, wait.
Yeah.
It was a drill or this?
No, this is real. We had a threat.
Okay.
Didn't know what the threat was. Had a call in, blah, blah, blah. They're looking for something suspicious. I said, they are going to come in here, guns blazing. Kids are like, no. For the D'Iberville cops.
In your room?
Everybody's hands.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's hands. Swept the whole room. Boom. Next room. Everybody's hands. AR-15.
Dang.
All the kids are crying. I was like, I told you it was coming.
Yeah,
I told you it was coming.
Yeah.
But they didn't understand that.
Damn. I didn't know that.
It's nuts. That's so the craze training, that's where I guess more of the active shooter stuff started happening. And that's really the very beginning of how like the name of my business came from. It's called Alert. It's the Alert people train it, but it's AAIR. It's like Active Attack Integrated Response, which is fire integrating with police. That was one of the most fun classes I've ever been to because we had the simulated weapons. Of course, I don't want to get you like banned. But we got to utilize a high-speed projectile but we got to act as victims in attacks.
Yeah.
Which was it's really cool, or it's not cool, but it's a unique experience because we were acting as victims, but they came in.
Well, D'Iberville High School used to do it where they would shut the school down for a week. You couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
They would bring in outside police departments, fire departments, AMS, and all that stuff, and they would simulate.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Dudes got shot.
Yeah.
We had to breach the room.
Well, that was
stuff.
one of the problems I remember seeing, and it might have been here locally. Correct me if I'm wrong. There was a
few.
There was a threat, though, and one of the
yeah.
big problems was once it got out on Facebook, all the parents rushed to the school,
Central.
and then
So
then
if you
AMR
know
couldn't
where-
get in, the fire department couldn't get in.
If you know where
police couldn't
Harrison
get
Central is, you go north on 49, and there's literally one way in, one way out.
in. Right.
So the thing is, when that lockdown goes in, that's probably 20 minutes before anything happens. What are the kids doing?
Texting. Yeah.
All day
yeah.
long. And then mama and daddy are like, I'm going to go
coming to
save my baby. I'm going to go save him. Well, you just jammed up the whole law. I mean, we can't do anything now. The professionals, the AMR,
Can't get in.
anything can't do anything because mama wants to go save her kid. What are you going to do? Run in front of the goddamn gun? Like,
I get that.
yeah,
I mean,
but
come
you
on.
got to let the professionals do what they got to do.
But you're not going to, people don't want to sit back and wait, especially after the
But you can't-
Valday or however I'm pronouncing it wrong,
Yeah.
where they all sat back and didn't go in,
But you can't do anything. Like I was a teacher, and when those guys kicked in the door, you think they cared if I was a teacher?
Nope.
Right.
They didn't give a rat's
And
monkeys. You know what
I'm not
I'm saying?
saying you're wrong. Definitely not saying you're wrong. But what I'm saying is, as a parent, you freak out a little bit. You want to protect your kid.
Right.
You would probably walk in front of a gunman. Just know you would.
1,000%.
Oh, yeah.
You're just in the way now.
Right. I get it.
Yeah.
But then also you say you can't do anything. The guy that ended up killing that shooter came 40 minutes
yeah.
away.
Dude,
He
yeah,
was getting
well,
his haircut.
that was like
drove in, walked past everybody that was waiting.
He
Hop,
was
hop, hop,
still
stop.
he was still officer of the law.
Understood.
But-
Understood.
He wasn't a regular mama and daddy.
Correct.
So that's kind of like where all this came from. Like I'd mentioned earlier, so with my little boy Graham, I was told before he was born, there will never be someone that you love as much and as fast as you will your kid.
Oh, 100%.
Dude, it was nuts.
Yeah.
And he came out and he had red hair and blue eyes, and the nurses were like, "Hey, red hair, blue eyes, Dad." I was like, "Yeah, cool." They're like, "No, Dad." I'm like, "Hey, this is red hair and blue eyes." And like, I was like, "No, we're good. He's mine, 100%. Yeah, we're good. And then like later on, I was like, "Oh shit, like yeah, red hair does run in the family," and it's like, we've got parents with blue eyes, but when I walked into his daycare, that's when it kind of
clicked for you, yeah, because it was out of your
oh man, it was
whatever.
yeah. It's like I care about it and I would respond to it, but then it's like now it's a whole different ballgame. You're
Right.
watching my kid and like, but so
I
just to
remember
kind of go ahead.
I remember driving home for the first time, taking both of my kids were premature, so they were in the NICU for both of them, and especially my first son, putting him in the car seat, and he was like barely fit in the car seat, like because he was still a preemie.
Yeah.
And I remember
Just a bag of
I
Jell-O.
was 26 at the time. I had driven cars a lot. At 26 years old, putting him in the back of that seat, and I remember sitting in the driver's seat and like turning it on and putting it in the drive. It was like a whole, like I'd never driven a car before in my life.
Yeah.
I'm like looking at everything.
You're back to being
what am
15.
I doing? Yeah, and I'm back looking back at him. Is he breathing? Is he okay? Like, I know that feeling that you're talking about. It was completely different.
Mine was full term, and Paula rode in the back seat.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're like sitting there, like just want to grab everything. What are we doing? What are we doing? Slow down. Stop moving.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this guy?
Yeah.
Why are y'all driving 70 on the interstate?
I'm a new
That's
parent.
a bit
Leave me
much.
alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with him, and that's kind of where I was able to change it. But like the AAR, that stuff was so fun because at one point I got to be the attacker, and it was like it's like paintball basically, but it's not.
Right.
To where like as I was leaving, it's like this needs to be like we could sell this.
Yeah.
It's like 100%. Like I wonder what the insurance would be. Like how to figure it out.
Have you ever seen New Age paintball?
No.
It looks like I mean, I even think the military uses that for their training purposes.
Yeah, like breach doors and stuff like that. Yeah.
These people are in full gear. I mean, they've even got grenades that are paintball.
But like, where is it though? Where's the nearest place?
I don't know at that level, but you can go on YouTube and type it in. People you're listening, go look it up. It looks like warfare.
Yeah. Yeah. So
ridiculous.
that's what I was like, because we had to get wanded, we had to get swept,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like we had personal protection. It was intense. I was like, this needs to be a business.
You're so on your website though. So we went through that big box. That was your big box. You do BLS, ACLS, like you do that, but you also do list on your Facebook page like the active shooter stuff.
So I can do active shooter training for businesses. I can do it for churches, daycares, anyone that wants to learn more about it.
And that doesn't mean you're teaching people how to shoot a pistol, right?
Yeah, it's
100%.
It's not. There's no shooting involved.
Okay.
Depending on the course you take, I do have simulated weapons that you can learn essentially how to take down someone with a weapon or utilizing distraction objects, things like that. Because we have like the run, hide, fight mindset. That's kind of what's being pushed.
Yeah.
Well, this one we can go on the run, hide, and we can focus on all of it. We can work on maybe a little fighting back, but also how to properly treat. Because again, like as a teacher, if you're in that room, something happens, you
got to know what to do.
You got to know what to do. And of course, with that, I'm working on essentially an active attacker kit that I'm putting together for schools that they can purchase and have for their room. Because my sister, she's an educator. I come from a family of like fire cops and teachers.
Yeah.
But so with her, like when she started working, it's like, I'm about to hook you up. And so I made her a first aid kit that's not necessarily, this ain't for Band-Aid or this isn't for like Bobos. This is for when stuff hits the fan. Like you're going to be able to look at a parent and say, I did the best that I could. I mean, and that's
I love the idea of like not having a soft target, but then you go into, and y'all have mentioned it a couple of times already, like legality, who's at fault, who's at risk. Like for you, especially Joey, one of the big conversations, and there was actually an active shooter event that happened today in Arkansas. I don't know if y'all saw. I got a news alert on my phone. I think it wasn't at a school for sure. It wasn't, but it was like a Walmart or something. 2 people died. So this is real. I mean, everybody knows that. But like that conversation happened just about arming teachers, arming people. I like that. I understand that. I understand people not wanting that to happen. But like for you that day, would you have wanted to be sitting there in that room with a gun? When the cops rolled in, I'm sure there would be protocols.
It literally takes, and 99% of the people that work in schools couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Correct.
It had to be
correct.
Like literally, what did they call it when we used to do the sheriffs when you were deputized?
Correct.
It would have to be like something like that,
Right,
where you'd have to go through so much training that nothing can go wrong, and you'd have to have a safe or something in there where, hey, I'm going to the bathroom, you know what I'm saying? Or something like, I got to lock this thing up to the next day. It's got to be locked up.
Yeah.
But I do think we're lucky enough in Harris County to have 2 armed SRO officers. So literally when that goes off, there's 2 armed officers going down there. But like St. Martin, when we had, who do we have in here that was talking about that the other day? I can't remember, but they only have 1 SRO officer for both elementary schools.
Oh yeah, I don't remember who that was. Was it Ledbetter?
It was Sheriff
Ledbetter.
Yeah.
For Jackson County.
Yeah. So imagine, St. Martin East, St. Martin North.
Right, that's a long drive. Yeah.
If something goes on, that's free reign.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that on the air, but
right. No, I mean it is.
Well, so after Uvalde, both of my kids go to St. Vincent de Paul. We
got officers.
We have an officer now that's armed at the school.
It's sad.
We didn't have that before.
And usually most of the private schools are the ones that don't.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't, and now they do.
It's horrible. That's the thing. Like that was a reaction to something horrible.
Correct.
You could have very easily been Uvalde.
And I don't know if it was Uvalde or the one in Nashville. I can't remember.
But it's one of those things. Like as long as
it was a response to one of the 2.
It's a reaction as being proactive, and so that's what I'm trying to push out with people. It's like, let's be proactive.
What is the saying though? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You ever heard that?
No.
Yeah.
That must come on the right side of
No, I didn't. I definitely didn't make that. I'm just making sure I said it right. Ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah.
Correct.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Preparing early is always going to be better. But it's kind of a sad situation. Joey had to go pee if you're wondering why he's gone. It's a sad situation where we have to even think about this for schools, but it's reality. So you got to get over it.
It's horrible. And then, of course, you can go, there's statistics and all. It's nuts.
Where there's not so much red tape down here, I get what he's saying that, you'd have to have this and that, as far as like, you definitely would have to have some place to secure a weapon.
Oh,
if
yeah,
you armed teachers.
Yeah. I'm talking about
I
the
love
global.
that though. I love, I have no problem with that kind of
armed
arming
teachers.
Yeah.
Well, like Joey said though, think about your average teacher. Like they are not
not even
carry
close.
wielding person.
So that's not a person that you would want to do that, right?
And
so
they can cause more damage than they could.
So absolutely, let's add some training or something like that.
You're talking 2 or 3 people,
But
per school, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe.
Teachers are already doing a ton of training. Like I know there are schools that you don't even get paid during the summer of. Like they're doing training for free, essentially.
Yeah.
Like we already have so much training we've got to do. We've got 2 weeks of summer that we can pay you for, but we've got 3 weeks of training that has to be done.
Well, we do the active shooter stuff on the internet. I mean, it's an online course where you walk through and it shows all the video.
Mm-hmm.
When we get back the first 3 days where it's teacher work days, we do 2-hour craze training. We walk through it. They show the same video. They show what was the first one? The first school shooting,
Columbine.
Yeah, they show that video. All the girl teachers start crying because it's actually,
it's real.
They show it. They show it. Like it's real stuff. But then, like, they realize what's going on. Then they go over. Well, these are where the safety are. This is where the boxes are. Rip this open, do it, grab the kids, pull them inside. So they are trained.
I like the idea more of like fallback. Like I think what you said that y'all did, fall back to your classroom, lock the door, cover the window.
100%.
Right. And those doors.
Tell them to shut. But the problem is the kids are doing this the entire time.
Well, and I understand that, and that's fine, and that's good and bad, I'm sure.
Well,
both.
so we know they're doing that. So now what do we do to prepare? It's an element that we know exists. Yeah. So now we prepare knowing that they're going to be doing that.
Well, the problem is, and I never thought about this, if I got 20 kids in the class and there's a threat and there's a remote detonation, what do you think it's going to come from?
What do you mean by that? Say that again.
It's a cell phone.
A cell phone.
A cell phone. Right.
You see what I'm saying?
If you have a secondary
are
device.
They that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Wait, no. Who's ever done any kind of school problem shooting, whatever, where they set off a bomb with a phone?
Columbine, there was.
I know that story, but they didn't. It wasn't.
But that's the threat.
No, that was so.
No, they set it off outside the school to get everybody to come out.
And it was intended to be internally. They set the timers and all. They just didn't.
Well, the thing is that with the fire alarms now, that like if you're going to be a school shooter, they'll set the fire alarm off.
That makes sense.
Everybody rushes out there. It happens. But the SRO was like, when you get these kids in put the phones down, because if there's say I brought a bomb in my backpack and it's set off by a daggum cell phone.
Yeah.
They're on the cell phones the entire time. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we're not at that level of technology, and that level of technology may be so cheap and not easy. Easy to do. I don't know. I hope we're not there. I'm not even thinking that way yet. But
you can't put yourself in your shoes. You got to think about the person that is
crazy enough to do it.
Yep.
That's for sure. I just hope
that's the worst
part. I hope
they're
not that technically advanced in high school. Is all I'm saying.
Well, daggum, they can do it.
Doing it in the Middle East.
They're 6 years old in the Middle East doing it on the side of the road.
They're not. They've got. That's a whole different conversation. They have people backing them, and they didn't build that. They're just
with the world of the internet, it's not hard to find.
Well, for sure. And I hope we don't cross into that. I hope we're not giving anybody ideas. But so anyway, I like the idea of fall back, protect your room, keep everybody safe.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. But it is real life.
Sid brought up a good point though about coordination, and I remember hearing that part of it whenever you talked about, Joey, when all the parents showed up and blocked the entrance into Harrison Central. Okay, that was one of the problems they realized, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in their review of that, is that number one, we got to keep the parents out of the way, and we have to have all agencies speaking to one another and coordinated.
100%.
Unified command.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. And who does that? Who's the person, and how do we set that up?
Yeah.
So have you all ever heard of ICS?
No.
Oh man, that's like the fire department's bread and butter.
Okay.
It came from 9/11. It's incident command system, and it is that. It's essentially who is going to be. You have your NIMS is the National Incident Management System, but then you have ICS, which is basically if we're all working on ICS, we've got different sectors that we're in charge of, but You have your span of control of no more than like 3 to 7 people, 5 being optimal, where it really is, it's tiered. And so I'm never trying to, if I'm the incident commander, I'm not exactly trying to talk to the EMT that's trying to throw a tourniquet. I'm not asking them, hey, where are you?
No, you're talking to the head guy.
I'm going to ask a triage officer who's going to say, how many patients or how many victims do you have? And they're going to say, well, I've been speaking to my 5 people, my 5 different ambulances. They can tell me this is what we've got going on. So that is, it's a standardized thing.
That reminds me of 2 things. That's compartmentalized, like flow of information. You've ever seen the meme that once you get, I think, again, we were talking about this earlier, like mid-30s, men have to make a decision. You either get into smoking meats or World War II. Right. I did both. But it reminds me of a World War II story where two things. One, the Battle of Britain, they had to do the same thing when radar came online. I was just watching this the other night. It's great. Man, if you don't have Nebula, go out and get it. It's awesome. But figuring out how to coordinate radar. They had radar just comes up. They're like, there's this thing. Now we can kind of identify planes that are showing up. How do we disseminate that information over the country of the United Kingdom? They had to do what you just said. Go into sections, into zones. This person reports first, and it goes to this room. And there's no computers. They're literally moving sticks on a board, right, to make decisions on what squadrons they need to put into the air to go figure out, is this an anomaly? Is this for real? How many planes is this? Is amazing. Exactly what you just said.
That's what it all stemmed, unfortunately, from 9/11. They're like, we didn't know, like, we knew FDNY was like, we've got our system down pat.
Correct.
But I don't know what you're doing.
Correct.
We have people from all over the world, all over the country responding.
That was even in the intelligence community, not sharing information about prior to the attacks.
And so, like, for us as the fire and EMS and all that, so, like, if you don't utilize NIMS and practice ICS and you don't have your people trained, you can't get, like, federal funding.
What is that, a radio? How do y'all communicate?
So as far as like communication, I mean, you can use your radios and your cell phones and whatnot, but it's more of span of control. Like, I'm not worried about who's going to order, because you got to think, if you got a large enough incident, Katrina, all right, we're going to need chairs, we're going to need table, or go back to the active shooter. We need a reunification corridor, a reunification area for the parents to go to meet their people. Well, I don't need to talk to the person that's in charge of that, that's managing all these other people. Like, I only need to say, hey, are we open? Yeah, it's at the KFC parking lot down there. Cool.
Hierarchy.
Yeah. But I think what I was asking is, if that situation happens and police are going in, AMS are going in, fire going in, are those teams talking?
So initially,
that's what you're talking about with centralized command.
Your initial response, everybody's coming in.
Correct.
Now, also, everyone should be on the same board as far as, like, we know, because used to, like, police would wait to get back up. Now it's like, no, go to the sound of gunfire, go to the where you hear it.
Assess the threat.
Yeah, and so just get there. And so for the fire, it used to be like, okay, hey, y'all let us know when things are good. So we're working. You all work together by understanding what each agency is doing and being on the same, like, game plan. And it's really cool because, like, right now I work at a Navy base, but I'm working with Plaquemines Parish PD and organizing, like, hey, how are we going to respond if we have an attack at school on base? And so you start working, and you've got to have an understanding of what all is going on, or at least, like, I know exactly, or I got an idea of what he's managing, what you're managing, what he's got available. I might need 5 ambulances, but he's got 2. Okay, so we need to have somebody. Yeah, somebody is going to be in charge of contacting New Orleans EMS and all these other agencies. Not me. I'm commanding these 5 people basically. Yeah. I'm not calling New Orleans EMS or triage or somebody like that. Someone else will be doing that, and it's just trying to make it very where you don't have to try to do every single thing yourself.
Yeah, I what I'm saying is, the police chief, the fire chief, AMS, are they talking?
Yeah, they know before it even happens. The attack, they know how each agency should respond. Right. And so utilizing that knowledge of what's going to happen, understanding, hey, this is what to expect from such and such. Yeah. And that's can vary by agency or by location. And then, so like you said, they had the breakdown or the after action report, the AAR after the fact. That's when you get your best feedback, and that's when you can start saying, like, hey, on paper, this looked really good. but in reality, it didn't happen. In reality, this is what happened. So next time, maybe the the third or fourth guy on scene, block that area, block that one way in, one way out.
Yeah.
And so now we don't have people going in there, and it's only for ambulances or only for fire and EMS. And so but the system as a whole is for that. It's like, it's super efficient, and it's super confusing at first, man. It's so confusing.
People don't realize what all goes into that kind of stuff.
And that's the thing. It's like, but once you get it, it's like,
no, that makes sense.
Yeah. You're like, why does everyone not use this exact formula?
Right.
But then you realize some people, they use a type of it, but it's ICS and NIMS, man. It's awesome. But again, that goes back to like the public doesn't realize what we're utilizing or how we're trying to do things.
Well, and I think most of the public doesn't need to know that.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. And I hate to say that because those are the kids that I'm watching, but most of the public doesn't need to watch that.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't even know what's going on.
Yeah. I knew this was going to be a good conversation. This has been fun. Where do people? Let's recap real quick because we've been all over the spectrum. Which is good. That's what made it a good podcast. So let's sum it up real quick. You're doing Modern Recoil is doing CPR classes. You've got all the gear. Did we even need to open this? Is this different?
It's just smaller.
Okay,
it doesn't.
Compact?
Yeah, it's more compact. Doesn't have the ice pack in it. It doesn't have. The biggest thing it's got in there is that tourniquet. That's again, that goes back to that's what's gonna
save your life. Yeah. We've like I said, we talked to the guys that sank in the Gulf of Mexico. You know, our audience is kind of, you know, obviously like male dominated outdoors fishing, guys or whatever. Yeah, you tied it in with like you hit a prop, right? Y'all tell me, correct me on this story. The people that got bit by the shark a few weeks ago over in Florida.
It was an anesthesiologist that saved her life.
Did they or did they not have a tourniquet?
Had a tourniquet.
A Mississippi boy with a tourniquet.
With a tourniquet. Now he had it with him?
Yep.
Yes.
Now how random is that?
Y'all talking about a 30A?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were there. You were there that weekend.
Yeah.
That guy had a tourniquet with him.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was an anesthesiologist.
Random that he had.
See that. I've
heard
what the
news station said.
I've heard conflicting reports. I think it was a CRNA.
I
don't want to. I don't want to step on. I don't want to step. You know,
this wouldn't be an argument if it wasn't
correct. Either way,
correct.
He had a tourniquet.
There was a CRNA there present as well.
Hey, I'm good.
But there was a tourniquet present. And I didn't want to say anything because I don't know the details as far as what brand they use or what kind they use.
I don't either.
As long as they had one.
They had one. So we were there. The only reason I even know these details is we were there. The shark attacks happened, Thursday? Or was it Friday?
You were there. I don't remember.
Recent.
It was either
Thursday
the day
before y'all pulled in because you were passing us while we were in Destin.
Correct.
Yeah.
We go shark as we're arriving, they're like, sharks are here. Yeah. Like, you know, our beach is even open. Like, brought the kids to go to the beach and like shark attacks. But so my wife joined all the Facebook groups and she's involved in the stories. And that's what we heard is that there was some type of anesthesia personnel was there and had a professional tourniquet available. And that's basically what saved that. The one girl that got, I mean, she lost her arm and a leg.
I heard that,
and
someone before the tourniquet. There were two in a weekend. It
was awful. Well, no, it was
3, and they were 4 miles apart within probably an hour or hour or two.
Yeah,
the first one got hit, and it wasn't. If I'm correct, the first one was worse than the second one. The second one, that the one girl had like a scrape and the other girl got cut, but the first one lost the dang all the way up to the elbow and everything, unless I got it confused.
There was one girl, at least in 30A, she was closer to, she was past Blue Mountain. She lost a leg and an arm.
Yeah, at the elbow. Yeah.
Poor girl did. And I don't know about the other ones.
It was a girl, it was one victim, 2 victims the last time, and they try to say it was the same shark. How they know it's the same shark, I don't know if that's possible, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
To me, the takeaway is the point I'm trying to drive home is that we've sat here now, sitting across this table from you. You're in your health, Sydney too, healthcare, fire department. You got a whole business based on safety equipment and all this other stuff. And we said it earlier. It's like I did, like ounce of prevention worth a pound of cure. It's so hard. And we sat across the guys that sank in the Gulf of Mexico. It's so hard to either to do invest the money, the time, the forethought, and the like, hey, let me grab this box right here and let me take this to the beach. And it's like, why? Why would you do that? You're not going to need that. Why? Yeah. I don't need the pack. Yep. I need my speaker. I need my ice chest, my sandwiches, and that's beers. And some guy, healthcare professional, guy or woman, I don't know or care, brought this and probably saved somebody's life, or did save somebody's life just because he had that.
Well, not to cut you off, but in that incident that we just talked about, and again, regardless whether it was an anesthesiologist versus a CRNA, it was an anesthesia provider, there was a professional tourniquet.
Yeah,
100%.
It was not a T-shirt that saved that girl's life. Yeah, the girl that was there that got bit in her arm, she lost a freaking arm and one of her legs. They were able to fortify her with it was a professional tourniquet. That is 100%
true.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
Like again, I thought about it as we were talking about this conversation, but again, because I didn't have the 100% of the facts, I didn't want to like throw it in there.
Yeah, Sid, I blurted it out. I don't care.
Yeah. But I will.
Well, but I did read enough to know that there was some sort of professional tourniquet used to save that girl's life.
Correct.
Well, and then that goes back again to the personal flotation tracking device, the EPIRB, whatever, with those guys. Like the point I'm trying to drive home is that I need to step my game up.
Well, you can never be too prepared.
Well, yeah. I would rather be. Let me ask you this question real quick too. I would rather be the safety guy, whether that's for being on the boat or with tourniquets, which it's all in the same circle or whatever. 100%. Are you that guy?
Oh yeah.
When you walk around with something, they're like,
definitely
there's Brad again.
Yeah,
he's got all the safety stuff.
I wish I had a Band-Aid and a can opener. Well, Brad's got it.
That's the thing, especially now. Like people my wife recently hosted a party, and this lady like cut her finger, and they're like, Brad's got just the thing for that.
Yeah.
Brad,
but like,
over there.
So I will say this too. Like one of the things that I have, I don't post it all over, but when someone does buy this, I at least tell them, and it may be on one of the stickers. But if you use something out of any of my kits to save a life, give you a new one.
Replace it.
I'm going to replace it free of charge. You just let me know.
Wow.
So basically, if that guy would have utilized my kit,
you'd have got a tourniquet.
Free tourniquet, man. Don't worry about it.
Love it.
That's cool.
I mean, and so it's one of those things because they cost money.
Yeah.
And it is it's an investment, but again, it's like at what point is it? Hey man, that was a steal. I paid $35 for this thing to save her life. Yeah, it's
100%. Yeah, 100%. I linked in the comments below to your Facebook page, Modern Recoil Facebook page. So anybody that was watching this live right now or on the replay, they can click on that link. They can go there. Where is? I'm assuming your website is linked to your Facebook page. I know that because, like we said at the beginning of this, you are the app sponsor.
Yeah.
And if you go inside the Brownwater Banter app, that's free on the App Store.
You can get the play button.
All you got to do is hit the tile, and it goes right to his website. Can we order all of this stuff off of your website?
Yeah. So you can order it off my website. I also can have my trainings scheduled through the website.
So product and
product and education through the website. Most of it is through Facebook. People either messaging me about it or calling me. However, I will say is if you buy something, especially the local people, I'm going to hand deliver it. I'm going to go through every piece about it. So typically, like if you buy that, I'm going to show up with another big case full of training equipment. That way we're not opening your stuff, but it's also like, hey, this is that blue tourniquet that you're going to get to pay. I will show you how it's done. I will let you hands on. Because it all goes back to like, yeah, I do make some money off of it.
You should.
However, it's more of like, I don't want something to happen and then be like, damn.
Yeah.
Like I could have helped some way, shape, or form.
Well, you've made you've kind of talked about this is not what you skimp on. I mean, like there's that old, like you don't skip on toilet paper.
You say that, and the guys that sank in that boat, they talked about. They were like, people want to say like this EPIRB thing, the beacon that tracks people if you get in the water. They're like, they range from 400, let's just call it, to 1,000. Let's call it $1,000. Like, people don't want to spend $1,000. Like, dude, how much money did you spend on your radio that's on your boat?
Right.
At least that. At least that. You know,
I got that in two figures.
What's the old adage? Like, you don't skimp on toilet paper and, you know, this
bread.
and this and that. Bread. Like, come on. To me, this is the stuff you don't want to skip on.
It's just it's hard for people to understand it. I'm guilty of it. I am guilty of it. First, I didn't know the holes that were in my game. I learned that from those guys the other day.
Yeah.
A couple things and from the DMR. And then like with you, like why not have a simple little box like this?
This is everybody's
right here.
They're preppers. If you're talking about bug out bags or anything like that, this is a waterproof case.
Yeah.
You drag this through the mud, it's still there.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I've followed up with St. Thomas. Like, we've got our AEDs. It obviously is there, and we got the pads and everything. We're gonna replace those pads. We need something like this.
You need to get one of them, Sid, so you got to kiss no more dudes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we need, you know, if nothing else, if we don't get an ambu bag, we need something like this.
Yeah.
Quite often when I do go through this, recently I had the guy, he's actually like a pilot. He's like an on-call pilot. And when I started going through it in the tourniquet, he was like, never thought about, because I told him, I said, how often are you at your hunting camp?
Yeah.
Or how often are you cutting a tree down after a storm? You don't want to just have this on your boat. It's like, but he was like, oh, I need more of these. He's like, let me order some more. And so he on the spot, he's like, he said, I never would have thought about using a chainsaw at the hunting camp.
And it kicks back. And you're done.
You never know, but it's one of those things. Again, it's like,
well, when you listen to the podcast, it's got all which again that's a different environment. Like the Navy SEALs, that's like top 3 things that they take as a tourniquet.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Like after the gun and maybe like the bullets in water,
gun, bullets, and tourniquet.
The tourniquet. You know, the different environment, but
still,
how many sizes?
So,
how many? Go ahead.
No, so it's so important though that people, again, you don't want to be. It's one of those. I'm super passionate, obviously about it. Like, I don't want someone. Like, I would feel guilty even though, like, if someone they see this, they see what it is. They don't get it, and something happens a week later. It's like,
there you go.
It was right there, man.
Yep.
That's right.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank y'all for stopping by. I appreciate you sponsoring and being a part of the Brown Water community. It means a lot to us. I hope you understand that. Do you do outside of the Facebook and buying from the website? Do you do classes or anything like that?
Yeah, so
like
that's
either for the public or for hire or whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
so that was what I originally started doing was the first aid CPR AD classes. They're private. I don't have like a brick and mortar spot.
Right.
So people reach out to me and I schedule with them.
A company could hire you.
Yeah, I go. That's another thing is I go to people's businesses. I can host at my home. I've got a perfect like a den area that's separate from the house. But no, I've got everywhere from I've been to Pensacola to New Orleans area. I've done daycares, homes. I've done.
We talked earlier about the babysitting class.
Babysitting classes. Ooh. Yeah, I've done babysitting classes. The Den in Gulfport. That's another like hidden gem that people may not know is even available. But I've teach classes there from first aid CPR. I've done nurses doing their BLS to babysitting classes. I mean, it's I've got a wide variety of what I can offer education wise as well as product wise. And it all started with the education. And if you get a product from me, you're not going to get a product without some education. It may not be a AHA certificate, but you're going to get something out of it. You're going to learn something.
Well, Brad, brother, appreciate it. Sid, thanks for coming, hanging out with us. We're going to do it again. I wanted to get into some bourbon talk tonight, but we went where the conversation went.
I love it.
We'll get into that later on another episode. Thanks everybody for tuning in on the live, on the replays. Like I said, man, if we'd have been smart, we'd have branded this as the Summer Safety Series. But we got the content there, so look at it right there.
Check it out.
Box. Check it out. Go to his website. Click the link. It's linked for you audio people. It's right there in the description below. Go to the website and check it out. Be safe. be safe on the water, be safe on land, be safe everywhere you can go.
You need it even if you don't need it.
Well, yeah, I'd rather be caught with it than without it.
That's
right. So again, y'all download the Brownwater Banter app. It's free on the App Store and in Google Play. It's got all of our content there. It's got a link to Modern Recoil as well.
He's the app sponsor.
He's the sponsor, and we appreciate that so much. And if y'all keep tuning in, we'll keep doing these. We will see you on the next one.
Later.